So I've mentioned before in my past videos how I'm a big film lover and I just love cinema and watching all different kinds of genres when it comes to movies. But even more than that, I am a very big Zendaya fan. So in today's video, I want to do a fun sewing tutorial inspired by the movie Challengers, which is coming out April 26th. My plan is I want to try to finish this dress in time for me to wear it to go see the movie. I'm probably going to do a solo date to go see the movie just to do something fun by myself, and because I want to start doing more little alone time with myself, going out and taking myself out on dates and stuff like that to pour into myself. So yeah, I'm going to make a dress inspired by the movie, and I'm so excited because I really love film and I want to do more videos like this where I can make outfits inspired by movies. I actually have another idea of this, another sewing tutorial video with this same kind of concept that I'm going to end up making later this year, so stay tuned for that. Stay tuned to see how this dress ends up, and comment below if you want to see more videos like this as well. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you want to see more sewing tutorials like this one, and let's get straight into the video. Okay guys, so I finished sketching the other day and this is the sketches I ended up coming up with. Also, I know I'm wearing the same thing from another video that I did. I actually was also sketching some designs for the other project that I did, another project that I'm working on, while I was sketching these designs as well. So if you see me in the same outfit in another video, don't say anything. But yeah, so I finished sketching the designs already for this project, and with this one I ended up going with the first look. I think I'm gonna end up going with this first look, and yeah, I'm gonna drape because I feel like, I don't know, draping just sort of helps me to visualize things better, and then after that then I pattern make, just because that's the way that I can understand things better. So yeah, I'm gonna drape and then we're gonna pattern make. So for this sewing project, and honestly in general, I've always liked draping because I'm more of a visual person, and I feel like when you drape you can really see better how things are going to look and the way that they drape and such. However, I know that there are certain things specifically that you do need to pattern make just because logically it makes more sense, like a coat. What else? There's just certain things that it makes more sense to pattern make. But for this, I'm going to jump into draping first and then I'm going to pattern make because it will make more sense for me. So we're going to we're going to drape the top first, and for the skirt it's pretty easy. It's basically just a circle skirt, so that'll be easy to actually pattern make, but I'm going to definitely drape the top first so that that is exactly how it needs to be. Okay guys, it's been a little bit since I have recorded and filmed for this video, but I was trying to figure out the best way to do the top portion, and I realized pattern making, like flat pattern making, is probably the best option. So I tried to do that, but I've sort of been struggling with getting a correct back bodice measurement, because if I just make a bodice block for this and then customize it from there, that would be the best option for this tutorial, or like for this kind of dress. So that's what I was planning to do, but I was having a bit of difficulties with doing the back bodice block. So I'm gonna just not stress about it right now and wait till I have more time to like actually make my correct custom bodice blocks that I need. So I now am back to draping, or the part that I already did, which was just draping on the mannequin. I don't think it's terrible, so I'm just gonna keep moving with this. I draped the back and I'm taking it off the mannequin now. So I'm gonna lay it flat and make a pattern for it, and then I'm going to make a prototype of just the top, because I already know how to do the skirt. It's really just this top part. I'm really trying not to get frustrated. I'm also trying to be authentic with you guys in like my process in doing these things and like my emotions through everything, and I just get frustrated sometimes because sometimes it like just makes you feel like you're not good enough as a sewist, especially like the fact that I went to school and I feel like I should understand this, and like it shouldn't be so difficult all the time. But I just remind myself, or at least today I was reminding myself, like it's okay for me to make mistakes, and I'm not perfect, I'm not gonna know everything, but the more I do make these mistakes, the more I'll understand how to actually do it correctly. So that's what I've been telling myself for the last like 3 hours, because I was just sitting here and I was like annoyed and not even wanting to like finish, and I was sort of like self-sabotaging myself. But I'm gonna do this now, and I'm going to just put this into a flat pattern, and then I will get back to you. And I'm also not really showing myself right now because I'm still in my PJs. Like, I'm really just being raw and authentic with you guys, but I'm gonna do this, and then I will get back to you once this is like in a pattern form and I'm working on the sample. So I don't know what happened to my footage of me sewing the sample, but I cannot find it, so I'm just gonna do a little voice recording. I ended up finishing draping the top portion of this dress, and it was a lot better than I thought it was gonna come out as. I did have to make a few adjustments because I just need to make sure that the darts were exactly how they needed to be. But yeah, the sample came out really well. I tried it on around myself and just pinned the sides, and it fit me really well. So after I finished the sample, I decided to move on and go fabric shopping. I'm so excited. I got some stretch satin, but it feels like more like athletic kind of stretch satin. I don't know if that makes sense, but like in terms of like the thickness and the texture of the fabric. So I think it's gonna be a really good fabric for this style dress. And now that I have the fabric, I can get to sewing. So I'm super excited. But I'm actually about to celebrate my brother's birthday really quick. Well, not really quick, but we're gonna be cooking and stuff like that, so I'm gonna get to sewing tomorrow. So stay tuned. So I'm gonna get to sewing the tennis dress tomorrow, and then for my future little surprise video that I'm doing later, I have that fabric, and I'm gonna be sewing that dress probably like throughout this coming week. So stay tuned for me sewing that dress as well, which I'm so excited to show you guys and to finally release that video. So I went fabric shopping in the city, as you guys saw. I went to like my main guys that I go to when it comes to like the different fabric stores. They always come in clutch. But I ended up getting 2.5 yards of stretch fabric, satin. I don't know why I say it like that. I got 2.5 yards of satin stretch. It's a bit thicker than like normal satin, and I think it looks really nice as like a tennis inspired dress, so that's why I got this kind of fabric. I also got some bias binding because that's what we're going to add around the top hem of the dress to give it that tennis kind of look. But I also am looking at some inspo on Pinterest that I really liked, and I was trying to go for that kind of look. And then I got a zipper so that we can get in and out of our dress, and that's all we need. I already had black thread at home because I feel like you should always have black and white thread at home because you never really know like when you'll need it, and it's like the most basic colors to always have on you. But yeah, these are the materials that you need. I honestly think I bought a bit more than I needed to because I still had some fabric left over, so I'm probably going to end up making another kind of top or maybe some scrunchies as well, but this is what we're starting with. So these are the pattern pieces I'm starting with. Like I said, I wanted to make sure they were perfect for the darts, and they are. So the first thing we're going to do is sew up the darts. I have 2 darts in the front, and I have 4 darts in the front, and I have 2 darts in the back. 2 on each side of the front, so 2 on the left and 2 on the right, and then just 2 in the back. Darts are really easy to sew up, so honestly this is like the easiest part. Later on I do say how I'm going to add a lining, so in total I'm going to be having 6 pieces to sew together, so I'm going to be sewing up darts on all of those pieces, and then later I will show you how I put the lining to the self piece. Next, we're going to sew the center front seam together. So we're going to put the left to the right side of the front piece, and I marked a pin 10 inches up from the waist where I want the sweetheart neckline to stop in terms of how low I want my neckline to be. So I'm just going to sew from the waist straight up to where that pin is, and I'm going to do a 1/2 inch seam allowance. Okay guys, so I just did this front bodice piece, and I sewed together all the darts, and I sewed together the center front piece, or the center front seam, and I was trying to figure out what I want to do in terms of like the insides. So I think I'm just going to line it. I thought it would be too thick because of how thick the fabric is already pretty much, but I don't think it'd be too bad because I'm only going to line the top. I'm not going to line the skirt. So I'm going to recut 2 more front pieces, and I'm going to do the darts and all that on those 2 pieces, and then I'm going to sew the front 2 pieces together, the lining to the self piece, and then we're going to move forward with attaching the front to the back. Oh, and I'm also going to cut out a back piece to line as well, because if I'm lining the back, or if I'm lining the front, then I might as well line the back. So I'm going to basically do all the steps I just did again for the lining, and then sew the lining to the self fabric, and then we can move on to the skirt. So I'm gonna get to doing that next. Okay, so I finished sewing the lining, so these are the lining pieces. Now I'm going to sew the self fabric to the lining fabric. So I'm literally just going to lay the pieces right sides together. And I'm going to sew a 1/4 inch seam all the way around the, basically like the border of this piece, and we're going to leave the bottom open because we're going to attach the skirt piece to the waist, obviously, so I don't really need to sew that together also because I have to turn it right side out. So yeah, I'm just going to sew the side seams and the top hem at a 1/4 inch. And for this top bodice piece, we're going to do the same thing, laying the pieces against each other, making sure that they're lined up how they need to be, and like when you pin it, it'll be exactly how it needs to be. But same thing, I'm not gonna do the waist, I'm just gonna do the 2 side seams and along the front neckline and the armhole all the way around. So all the way. And then after that, we'll turn it right side out and see how it's looking. Okay guys, so I did the bodice and the back piece, so we're gonna flip it right side out, and I'm gonna show you guys how it looks before we add the skirt and the final details to this dress. So before we do any top stitching, the next step I always like to emphasize doing is iron your pieces so that they look nice and clean and professional. So before I top stitched these 2 pieces, I ironed along the edge of this whole piece so that it laid super flat and it just looked neat. And once I sew this together, it's going to look even better. So as I mentioned in another video, I usually put a towel over the fabric when I'm ironing it, specifically for this kind of fabric or just like delicate kind of fabric, so that it doesn't mess up the fabric. You can also just use like a scrap piece of like cotton fabric, so like muslin or something like that, but just make sure that your fabric is protected when you're ironing. Then I went ahead and top stitched along the edges of the back piece and the front piece. I top stitched at about between 1/8 and 1/4 of an inch closest to the edge. After we have done the top stitching, now we're going to sew the side seams together, and we're only going to do one side because we have a zipper to put in on the other side. So I'm going to sew up my right side together, and I'm going to do it at a 1/2 inch seam allowance. So I'm just going to pin together the side of the front to the side of the back, making sure that the raw edges are on the inside, obviously, or the raw edges are facing us, obviously. And I'm going to sew at a 1/2 inch seam allowance. And this is how it looks when it's done. And now we can move on to the circle skirt. I'm actually going to be using a pattern that I made in another video when I made a holiday dress back in December. I'm literally using the same exact pattern, so if you want to see how I make this pattern, you can check that video out as well. Okay guys, so I cut out the circle skirt, and what I'm gonna do so that I can make sure it fits around the waist is I'm going to gather the waist just a little bit. So I'm going to do just a basting stitch around the whole circumference of the skirt. So literally all the way around. I have it folded in half right now just because that's the only way I can show it on the camera, like so you guys can see the whole thing. But yeah, I'm gonna put some basting stitches in the skirt, and then we're gonna gather it and stitch it to the waist. The only issue I did run into is that I realized I made the waist of the top a little bit small, so it might be a little bit tight on me, but I am gonna fix it in the pattern for when I make this in the future. But that is my only issue I did run into, so hopefully it fits me and it's just a little bit tight. But if not, I might have to adjust the top a little bit. But yeah, right now we're just gonna focus on this part and hopefully everything will turn out fine. So I'm going to base stitch this to gather it and attach it to the waist. Okay guys, so I just ran into my issue that I knew I was gonna run into, and I tried on the dress, or at least like tried to put it up to me, and basically, let me show you. Basically, the bodice is not going to fit around my waist because it literally stops, like, yes there's stretch in this, but it literally stops like way too far than what it needs to, like including that stretch. So I'm gonna have to redo the bodice, which is okay because at least the skirt fits and I don't have to recut the skirt out. The reason this happened, I know, is because I was trying to make sure that the darts were even, or like were the same size for the front bodice, and in doing so I think I might have taken too much out of it than the original initial drape that I did, and I should have checked it, but I didn't, so that was on me. So basically what I'm gonna do is I'm going to adjust the darts on the initial drape and pin it together, and then I'm going to mark out how much more I need to add on to that piece, and then make a pattern on paper so that I have the actual piece I need, so that I can make sure it actually fits my waist, because I do not want to be suffocating in this dress. But yeah, so I'm gonna redo the bodice really quick, and then we're gonna get back to the tutorial. But just to say, when I do get back to the tutorial, nothing's gonna change in terms of directions. You're literally gonna be doing the same directions. It's just that I have to adjust the bodice a little bit. So we're gonna sew it exactly the same way, nothing's gonna change. And then when I come back, I'm gonna get back to sewing the bodice to the skirt so that I can add the zipper, hem it, and add the bias binding, which I'm gonna add at the top so that it has that really nice outlining detail. So yeah, we're gonna get to it. And also, it's so annoying because I was on Instagram and I was looking at, I keep seeing like the posts about Zendaya at her what do you call it, premiere for the movie, like in the different places that they go to for premieres, and she's wearing this really pretty dress, and it just reminded me of this other dress I saw on Pinterest, and I'm like, oh, with this dress that I'm making now, maybe I should have added godettes. I'm saying that right, I think. Let me show you. Oh, she looks so pretty. And I'm like, maybe I should have added godettes to this dress, like in white, because that would have been really nice as like a cute tennis skirt. But I think it's still gonna be good. Maybe I'll make that dress in another tutorial for you guys. But yeah, I'm gonna get to fixing this top part. Then we're gonna attach the skirt and finish this dress because it should not have been taking me this long. Also, I wanted to just add that when I do take this apart, I'm not gonna let it go to waste. My plan is actually, I was thinking about making it into a corset top, so I'm gonna end up finishing this, and I think I'm gonna do it in another tutorial and just hem the bottom and add eyelets to it and make it into like a really cute corset top. And I might even add some like trimmings or some kind of cute detailing, but I promise you this will not go to waste, so stay tuned for that tutorial in another video as well. So I finished recutting all of the pieces for the front that I need to redo. So I'm now going to do all of the darts that we already did from the beginning on these new pieces. So like I said, nothing's changing in terms of the sewing. I'm basically doing everything the same. It's just I had to recut the pieces. So I'm going to go ahead and do those so that we can move on and get to the skirt. Next up I'm doing is I'm gonna serge the edge of the skirt and the edge of the top, like the hem of the top, so that those edges are clean when I sew them together. So I'm just going to do one straight stitch across with my serger so that those two edges are clean. Then after we serge those two edges, we can sew the skirt to the top together, and we're going to sew it at the waist. So I just pinned those two pieces together, and I'm just going to do a straight stitch at 1/2 of an inch all the way across. Next, I'm adding in my invisible zipper, and I first basted this zipper in by making my stitch length a bit longer, and I pinned it so that it is exactly where it needs to be. I also then marked where the waist comes up on the zipper so that it can match on both the left and right side when I'm sewing the zipper in. So I just marked that on the zipper so I know it's exactly where it needs to be. And then after I pin the zipper on and see that everything's in place, I then stitch it for real at the normal stitch length. Okay guys, I look a little rough, but just disregard that. So this is the dress before I add on the bias binding to the top and add the straps. I think it came out really good. I just cut the hem a little bit because it was like way longer than this. So I just cut off like 4 inches. Yeah, I think it falls really nicely. And I'm going to just do a very small baby hem because we need to keep this length because it was cutting to be a bit short. But yeah, it's coming out really good. So I'm gonna add the bias binding, do the hem, and show you guys the very finished product. I don't know why I said it like that, but I'm so excited. I'm gonna do a really cute photo shoot with this. I'm gonna look a lot better also. I know my hair and this is not my best moment right now, but it's okay, because that's what happens when you're a creative. You don't always have time to look the best. But yeah, I'm gonna do a really cute shoot to show you guys this in the end. So stay tuned for me to finish this. I'm just gonna add the bias binding to the straps, do the hem, and show you guys the final reveal. I hope you guys liked this video, and I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. Definitely comment below if you really enjoyed this, if you want to see more videos like this. If you decide to make this yourself, don't forget to tag me on Instagram or TikTok. My socials are in the description, but I'll also put my handles like right here. Yeah, and the next video that I'm doing, I'm so excited for it, and I think you guys are really gonna enjoy for the month of May. If you're a fashion lover or just like someone who's like an admirer of fashion, you're really gonna enjoy the next video. So stay tuned for that, and I will see you guys in the next video. So we're gonna finish this dress, get to the reveal, and I'm gonna peace out. So bye guys. We're finally getting close to the end. Hopefully this next part isn't too tricky, but we're going to add the bias binding on. So basically what I'm going to do is open up the bias binding package, and as you see, it's already folded really nicely and it has creases. So what I like to do is open up the bias binding all the way, and I like to basically line up the bias binding at that top crease. And I usually like to make a mark so I can see it when I'm sewing, and I'm just going to pin that along the edge of the top part of the dress. I'm going to pin it along there, and I'm going to stitch in that little crease so I know it's straight and exactly where it needs to be. And then after it's stitched, as you can see, we're going to then fold it over, and you can see that it's a really nice clean edge once it's stitched on the dress. Initial stitch, we're then going to fold it over to exactly how it was when you took out the package. So we're going to fold it completely, and we're going to do our last final stitch to close it off right at the edge of the bias binding. Usually people like to do stitch in the ditch. Honestly, I'm not as confident in doing that. I need to do a bit more practice, so I at least try to do it as close as I can to the edge of the bias binding. But if you're skilled at doing stitch in the ditch, you can also do that as well. And then we're going to add the straps. So I just cut the straps out in the length that fits right on my body, where it's like tight enough where I feel the dress isn't going to fall off. And I think for me that was at 15 inches. So I just marked on the back of the dress where I wanted to have the stitch, where I wanted the strap to land. On the front of the dress, I'm sewing the strap right at that top point of the sweetheart neckline. And last but not least, I'm going to do a baby hem. So first I'm going to fold the hem up by 1/8 of an inch, sew a straight stitch, and then I'm going to fold it over again so that it's clean and all the raw edges are tucked inside, and do my last final stitch, and the dress is done.